What's up, guys? Mark here, Wired Customs. So I'm going to briefly talk on a subject here. If you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me. These newer cars are not like the older cars, okay? So nowadays, with all these manufacturers cutting costs, they're putting an alternator on your car that is just enough to run the car, not anything else added to it, okay? Again, they're cutting cost, making the alternator cheaper, making a lot of stuff cheaper, right? Okay, so for instance, your car, your brand new car, 2022, I don't care what it is, newer car. Let's call it, it comes with 100 amps for the alternator, right? That's 100 amps. That's to run the car. You go and add, let's call it a 2,000 watt amplifier. Nothing crazy. 2K. Nothing crazy. Average customer here gets around 1,500. So a little bit more than what the average person would do. You know how many amps it takes to properly run a 2K amplifier? 200. Around 200 amps is what that wire is going to pull. The for zero gauge, more than likely it's going to be zero gauge for a legit 2K amplifier. 200 amps. That amplifier needs 200 amps of current. Your alternator is 100 amps and it's to run the car. If it's using, let's just call it half. Let's just call it they know the car needs 50 amps, so they're going to add 100 amps. They're going to twice the amperage that the car actually needs just because, okay? That leaves you with 50 amps. You know how much 50 amps can apply? A 500 watt amplifier. But you have 4 times that. You have a 2K. Now, that's going to be a problem, right? It could be. It might not be, but it could be. Now, remember, your amplifier takes power to create the power. If the power is not there, the amplifier isn't doing what it's stating. So instead of going to beef up the electrical, you should have got a 500 watt amplifier, or maybe even 1K, if you're not going to do that, okay? You just ran 4 times what that amplifier needs to output the power that it's stating. If you don't supply it with the proper amount of power, it's going to do less power. Might even do half of what it's rated at, and it's not the amps issue. It's not the amp's fault. It's not the wire's fault. It just takes power to create power. This is not like a guessing game here. This is science. It truly is. The lower you drop as you're playing in your car, if you're starting at 14 and a half, let's say you drop to 11, that's pretty low. It's not anything where I would say you're probably about to damage some stuff, but it's low. That amplifier is probably doing 1/8 less of the power, just dropping that small amount, probably even more. If it's a 2K, you're starting at 14.5, and that's where it does the 2K. Now you're at 11, you're probably at around 14 to 1500 watts. You just lost power, okay? How do we correct that? We can correct that one of 2 ways. We can add a high output alternator, or we can add battery power. If you have a ton of power, 20K, 30K, a lot of cars you can't run more than one alt. This car here, for instance, it's an SPL car. He's gonna have 4 lithiums. 4 big boys, not small boys, big boys, because he's gonna be running 12K. He has to have that supply in order not to drop down so low and prematurely clip the amplifier, make it not perform as well, make a hard strain on his alternator, deplete his batteries. All that stuff is bad juju. That's bad. Bad, bad, bad. Takes power to create power is my point of this content. That person with the 2K amplifier would have been better off getting a 1K amplifier, because now it's going to do 1K, not put a strain on the car, and be just as loud as that 2K. We've done direct tests, swapped. Had a 2K, for instance, swapped it into a 1K. I'm almost done. And then it was just as loud. Understand how it takes power to make power, and you will have less problems and be just as loud. That's the point. Peace.